Hi, I'm Mandy Pryor, and welcome to the Southwestern PA Business Podcast, hosted through Upper St. Clair Public TV through the Southwest Regional Chamber of Commerce. Today we have a very special guest on. We have Cozza of Cozza Law Group. We're going to be talking about ChatGPT, his law firm, and everything else that we can come up with today, I guess. Yes. So let's get started and introduce Rocco. Welcome, Rocco.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Sure. So I guess let's just get started and talk a little bit about Cozza Law Group.
Yeah, so we are a business, commercial transactions, commercial litigation, and entertainment law firm. Founded the firm in 2019 as really intending to be a solo practitioner. We've grown exponentially over the past 4 years. Now we have 10 employees, 6 attorneys, amazing clients. We work with everything from startup companies to Fortune 500s to everything in between, from startup to exit. A lot of the stuff I do a lot more of the strategic advising. I work with some of the larger clients, helping them manage their internal corporate governance when they're buying and selling companies, protecting intellectual property. And then the attorneys in my firm, they do estate planning to litigation to IP advisement and everything in between. So we are truly a full service business law firm.
And what do you think makes you stand out as a business law firm?
Yeah, I honestly think our client service is really what makes us stand out. When I started the firm, I was in corporate America for 14 years. And when I left, I wanted to start this firm, and I just asked people what they didn't like about lawyers. And I came up with a list of...
That's a big list.
It was a huge list. It was a very big list. So I narrowed it down to 5 or 6 things. And I said, as long as we don't do these things, we'll be successful. And it's really about treating the clients, with respect, with dignity, with kindness, actually caring about the clients we work with and the work product we produce. And I think we take such a... We put such a high level of service into everything we do, and I think that's what sets us apart. We're not transactional. We're about building relationships with our clients. Most of our business is referral based. I would say 70 to 75% of the clients that come in are referred from other happy clients. So we're doing something different, and I look at, there are law firms that practice law, and there's businesses that sell legal services. We are the latter, so we have to look at marketing, branding, and client service, and that is, to me, our biggest pillar, is the way we treat our clients.
And so you basically help build a business.
Yeah, we help actually, and that's what I love the most. That's, working with those startups when an entrepreneur has an idea and helping them take that idea from their head to a successful business that's what I love the most. Yes, I get to work with really cool clients. I work with entertainers, large corporations, but seeing that person that, early 20s has this idea and doesn't know how to get out of their head and turn it into something, and then helping them do that and be there along the way, that's probably the most fulfilling part of my job. I truly love seeing that success happen over time.
Well, and I think relationship building is so important to what you do, because a business isn't just come in, set something up, and move on.
Right.
It's a continuous process. There's things that change. There's things that need to be redone. Yes. There's contracts, etc.
Yeah, that's really, and that's a good point, because that's what, like I said, we compare ourselves to other firms. A lot of firms are transactional. They'll come in, they'll set up a business, and they're like, okay, good, and they let their clients go on their way. We have a follow-up process. We're constantly staying in communication with our clients. 1, to make sure they have everything they need. 2, to know that we are there and we have their back. 3, to make sure if things change, how we're adapting their documents or the way they're operating to those new ways of business. So it is an evolution. It's a relationship. When a client comes in, I tell every client, I want to be your lawyer for life. This is a relationship. This is not a transaction to me. So I take a lot of pride in the way we do things.
And Rocco has been a longtime partner of the Chamber of Commerce. He is very active within the community as well. And he's also won Man of the Year and Business of the Year. So you've really made an impact, I think, on the area and the businesses. And, from our small, mid-sized to even large businesses, we need support legally for them in what they do. So it's great to have somebody within the chamber to send them to.
Yeah, we just love to help them. Honestly, that's when I founded the firm, it was truly about helping people. And that's been my mantra my whole life. And I I feel blessed to be able to do what we do every single day, and the people that work at the firm and the clients we work with, it really is a blessing, and just being able to help the amount of people we've been able to. And I always say we're just getting started. Like there's so much more to do, and it's exciting to know how much more help we can give the community.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And so I thought today,
Okay.
Rocco is very, very knowledgeable about AI ChatGPT. It's a hot topic out there right now. People are wondering, what's the deal? Like, what is it, from a legal standpoint, let alone people are starting to use it. They're adopting it into their everyday practices. So I first and foremost wanted to get your thoughts on ChatGPT, your thoughts on AI and this kind of revolution that we're seeing and the future of it.
Well, it's not going away. Let's start there. I think people need to understand that we have to adopt it and embrace it. There's a lot of talk of how AI is going to replace certain jobs or professionals. My response to that is, if you are mediocre at what you do, then yes, AI can replace you. If you are good at what you do, AI is a tool that can be used to make you even better and more efficient. ChatGPT, for instance, for people that don't know what it is, it's a website you can go to and literally ask it anything, and it'll give you answers based upon machine learning. Now there's ChatGPT, I think 3.5 and 4.0. 3.5 is the free version. I think it's only the information accessible to that system only goes up through, I think, 2021. ChatGPT 4.0 is a paid version. I think you pay $20 a month, and that has more accurate, up-to-date information. But it truly is. Any question you could think of, if you ask it, it'll produce an answer. And what's interesting about it is the more you use it, the more it learns about you and what you're asking. So the answers become better. They become more refined. And it's a tool that, I think if you know how to use it, it will help in any aspect of your business. It truly is a remarkable thing. People are afraid of AI, don't get me wrong, because we'd watch movies back in the day, the robots are going to take over. I don't think that's the case. I do think there is a way to use AI in any business that will help that business tremendously.
And I do think that, like, as you start to use it, you're using it from such a basic level, and I think that leaps and bounds. This is extraordinary. And I think that they're going to grow in creating their AI and the prototypes. Yesterday popped up in my constant contact that there's a beta version out there that you can test it, and you just write your, help to produce content for your newsletters. Yeah,
well, even Canva, which is, the website where you can design things on, they have a text to image AI tool where you can literally type in something and it'll create an image based upon that. So if I say, hey, I want 3 dogs wearing baseball hats playing poker, you type it in the text box, it'll create an image that will look like what you just described. It's crazy. There's also a website called Midjourney, which is the same type of thing, but it's AI for images. You can go in there and literally tell it to create an image of Al Pacino making sushi, and it'll find.
That's what I've always wanted to look at.
Right. The only thing interesting with that, so we've tested a few times. The hands are always the hardest part for AI to get right. So if you look at AI generated photos, they may have 7 fingers, 3 fingers. They may have all the fingers on both hands, like they look like they're all from the right hand. It's really interesting to the details, but I think the more the machine learns, the better it's going to get, and we have to embrace it.
Totally side topic here, which you knew I was going to take you on.
Of course,
in animation, if you ever look, all of cartoon characters always have 4 fingers because they're so hard to draw and get right.
I didn't realize that.
So it's interesting. AI, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That they have extra and less digits.
It's again, like, it's funny too, because if you follow, people on Facebook are now utilizing AI, and there's this whole thing now that people are creating LinkedIn profile photos with AI.
That.
But if you look at their hands, some of them are pretty messed up. Like the fingers are all messed up. There's too many fingers. There's not enough fingers. Ones are too long. So it's, it has some kinks to work out. But to me, once you understand how to use ChatGPT in a more refined way, it is a powerful tool. Powerful tool.
So how do you feel about, and as this moves along, and it hasn't not been around. It's just it hasn't been as available to every single person. Like AI's been out for a long time. As things progress and the AI systems get better, how do you think that's going to affect some of the business industries, say content creators or marketing or newspapers, TV?
Yeah.
I mean, especially you're saying headshots. They're creating. Is actors and actresses going to be affected because they can just create the perfect actor and actress?
So do I think certain industries will be impacted by that? Yes, I think there will be certain, like from what you're saying, they could create images or videos about certain actors. Okay, you're getting into the whole copyright issues. Where I think on the content side, because that's an interesting piece. I think if you're a good marketing agency, you can use it. Because again, I would have to do it myself, right? So if I'm either going to pay a marketing agency to do things for me or do it myself. So even if I know how to use ChatGPT in a way that could create that content, it still takes time to do it. So typically when you're working, and that's where I think marketing agencies or content creators can really refine their offering in a way where you may not have to charge as much, so it makes it a no-brainer to a business, right? So if I had a
So you're saying it's going to streamline their effort.
Absolutely. Because think about I've known agencies in the past that they'll create content for a business. They may charge $2,000 a month to create 30 pieces of content, right? Which prior to AI, a business said, okay, that makes sense.
Nobody else can create it.
Exactly. So now they can say if they can do it through ChatGPT and now have that offering at $500. To the business, it's going to still be a no-brainer because the cost was decreased by 75%. They're still having someone else do it, even though they know they're using AI. So it's kind of, you got to find that cost-benefit analysis to see. I don't think these content agencies will be able to charge the same amount they have been in the past, but they're also going to be so much more efficient now. Like to create, I can go on, I use AI in our law practice, right? Not to generate documents, but to summarize things for me. So if I can take provisions of a contract and we have an AI tool that we use to summarize these provisions of a contract to put in an email, I don't have to charge my client for that because it's doing it for me. So I'm not going to charge my client for that. Otherwise, I would have to read those provisions, summarize it myself, which may be 15, 20 minutes, which I'm going to charge my client for. So it allows us to offer more value to our clients. And I think any type of business, if you look at it from that perspective, can use AI to do just that.
Yeah. And I mentioned before the Industrial Revolution, but how it's apparently an old term, but
very old term.
But the machines that came in, say it was all workers, and then they plopped a machine in, and they needed less workers.
Sure.
So do you think could lead to that in certain industries where all of a sudden these people have to go and work somewhere else or work in a different industry because it's just easier, it's faster?
Yeah, so I do think that's going to happen. And I think that's just going to be a shift in the labor force. I think that's just going to require people to develop different skills. Like there will be, and I hate to say it, but I believe it, there will be certain low-hanging fruit that AI can replace. I mean, just look at fast food chains now, right? They went from having 10 workers behind a counter now to maybe 3 because they have, self-serve stations. Right. So that's kind of the same thing, right? If AI comes into play, and now you're taking industries where we'll say the low-hanging fruit can replace certain workers, those workers have to develop new skills and different, that's kind of the evolution, right? That same thing happened during the Industrial Revolution. Machines came in, those laborers that were displaced by the machines now just learned new skills and ended up in a different industry.
Timing-wise, after post-COVID, hospitals are desperate for workers.
Yes.
Even blue collar is desperate.
The trades, absolutely.
Everything. That people are still sending me, we need employees, we need employees. So this shift might have come at the exact right time to help start filling those positions as people are like, well, we don't need as many people doing it because it's streamlined now.
Absolutely. And those people that are being displaced can actually use AI to find ways to make money.
Sure.
Like there are so many businesses, and if you just do a Google search, there's so many businesses that people are starting just using AI, completely copying websites, creating digital products, selling through these online platforms that are making tens of thousands of dollars a month, all through AI generated content. So you just have to it's hard work, right? It's just doing the work.
I think it's going to get to the point where you're like, create a website A
can
legal
do that
website
now.
for you. You can already?
You can't. You can. There are AI sites out there where I can literally, and they're paid sites, right?
Sure.
But you can put in a web domain and say, create me a site that looks just like this. It'll literally create a site in minutes that looks almost exactly that with your content on it. So there's so many things that it can do, and I think we need to embrace the AI revolution that's coming, and I think I truly believe this, anybody can make money with AI. You just have to spend the time and put in the effort to figure out how to do it. But this has opened up so many opportunities for people to increase their wealth, to put themselves in a better financial position. But you got to put in the time and effort to understand it, because it's I've been trying to understand it for months.
It's very complex.
It is.
It's going to be more complex down the road instead of less.
Yeah, I mean, just like the examples that we've talked about in the past, where I can go on to ChatGPT and say, hey, can you create me 5 social media posts for my law firm? I'm a business law firm. It'll create me 5 basic posts. If I change that prompt to say, act as a social media marketing expert. I am the owner of a business law firm in Pittsburgh, PA. These are the clients we serve. Please create me 5 social media posts that play on the emotion of fear and excitement and have a call to action at the end. The posts will be completely different. They'll be completely engaging. So it's understanding how to use AI and create those prompts that now give you better results. And then the more I do that in the site that I'm using, the more it learns how I speak, the questions I ask, and it makes the responses a lot more refined as I do it. I mean, it is so powerful. It really is.
I agree. And what about the legality? So people are using this, obviously we were taught, I was an English major, they're like, plagiarism, you have to be very careful. You can't copy any content. You can't do anything with other people's content without, putting in parentheses, bibliographies and the whole thing, which is long gone for right now. So what can you tell people about using this content for their own purposes? Because as the sites say, it's fine. Well,
and that's an interesting question, because I think we're in uncharted territory right now, because I think there's going to be a lot of, there are people that are using AI to write books, to write children's books or things like that. Who owns the copyright? Like, that's the other thing, because that's the big question, right? Because copyright protects an original work. So once I create something original, I have copyrights in it. It's just you file it with the Copyright Office to put the world on notice. So what is the creation? Is the creation the prompt I've entered into ChatGPT to ask the question, or is it the output? As a lawyer, I would argue it's not the output. I didn't create the output. The thing that I created was the question I asked. Like, that is the copyrightable material, not the output of it. So I think there's so much uncharted territory.
Because it comes to, does the owner of the AI have any rights?
Well, it's open source.
And I'm going to use a 1980s term, can a robot sue you?
Well, right.
Is that a law? I don't think it is at this point.
No.
Will it be?
Well, that's the thing. It's AI is open source software, right? So there's really no owner of it, right? It's in the public domain. It's placed in the public domain to use. So you can't necessarily copyright things from that. And that's why I tell people, you've got to be very cognizant of the rules. Like, it comes up a lot more in a Canva type situation, where people will create logos on Canva, and then if you look at the terms of service, you can't trademark those logos. Only under certain situations with certain elements of design. If you use certain elements of Canva to create a logo, you can trademark it, but if you use like the templates, you can't.
If you just use this exactly what's created by them.
I think we're 3 years away from seeing this really explode in the legal industry on disputes between copyright ownership, who owns what, how do you protect it, because it's uncharted territory.
It is.
It really is, and it's going to be. To me, as a lawyer, and I like to think I'm somewhat of a legal scholar. It's going to be fascinating to see what actually happens, what the courts decide when there are disputes over ownership. Because if you and I put the same thing in ChatGPT, we might get the same response, we might not. We may get similar responses. Say we both put in a very similar prompt and say, hey, can you create me a children's book? And we both created a children's book that was almost the same. Like, how do we say who owns it? Are you plagiarizing me, or am I plagiarizing you, or is it just the machine?
Or is it a wash?
Exactly. There's so many unanswered questions, and I wish I had a better response.
To who's truthful or not, who's going to say, hey, I wrote this.
Right.
Or, hey, I used ChatGPT to
Correct.
help create it. They're probably going to say, I wrote it or I created this.
Yeah, but I mean, you could probably go back to the ChatGPT history. Everybody, you have a history of everything you've asked in there. So there's going to be.
I asked who was Rocco Cozza today.
Yeah.
You should have seen the answer.
I can only imagine. I don't. Hopefully, it was only good answers. But no, I think it's a really good question. It's a thoughtful question. But I think we're too early in the game to even. I can't even give you an articulate, intelligent answer to. 'Cause I don't know how the courts will decide. Like there's too much uncharted territory.
And what about the dark side of it? Like, do you think, obviously there's hackers, obviously. How do you think that's going to turn around? And maybe we can't answer that yet. And use this against other companies.
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's, look, there are evil people in the world, right? They will find a nefarious use for anything. So I think there will be a way that people will find to use AI with ill will and intent. I don't know what that is yet. I think, I know there's probably a lot of stuff out there that people are using it to understand their competitors. Because there's now with ChatGPT 4, there's a lot of plugins you can add to it now. So ChatGPT can't analyze a website, right? Can't analyze the keywords it uses or XYZ. If you use certain plugins that you actually plug into ChatGPT, you can say, analyze this website for the keywords they're using and what they're spending their ad dollars on.
Sure.
So that's how I think it can be used. And is that evil intention, or is it just competition? Like that's going to be the question, because I would look at that. That's competition, right? If there's tools out there to understand my competitors, why wouldn't I use them? So I think it's still early to decide or to really talk about that, but I think there will be bad actors. There's always bad actors in any new technology, unfortunately.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people scrambling to figure out how to process all of that too, should, those come up.
Well, and I think so many people don't even understand, like, it still amazes me when I talk to people, they've never even heard of ChatGPT. And that still blows my mind, because it has.
It's on my sidebar on LinkedIn almost every other day.
I mean, it's like taken over, and there are so many business owners that, like, what's that? I'm thinking, like, where have you been in the past 6 months? Like, it is everywhere, and it's a tool that can be utilized. So I think, the next 12 to 18 months, I think, will be the most interesting time for AI and how it impacts the business
And isn't
world.
Google creating their own too?
They did. I think it was called Bard, if I remember correctly. But the first tests weren't that good. And again, first to market tends to always be best. You had Google and you have Bing. There will be benefits to theirs, I'm sure. And there's all kinds of AI plugins now you can use in G Suite if you use Google Email. I still think people will always default to ChatGPT. Like, think about it, people always default to Google for search.
Until something else comes up that's prettier. It's kind of like the MySpace of AI right now. Like, it's still pretty, like the look of it is very basic still.
It is, yes.
So somebody is going to have something more beautifully graphic design
Yes.
and user-friendly that's going to go, oh, well, here, pick these topics,
Yeah.
and then you can go in here and find stuff. So I do think that'll change a little bit if they don't change it sooner.
I would agree with that, definitely. Yeah, we are in the AI revolution.
I agree.
Definitely.
I mean, and not to say talk about Facebook, but every time there's a birthday or anniversary, it comes up, happy birthday, balloon, confetti, like that. That was AI before ChatGPT was kind of out there. Like, it was creating for you what you're writing. So you're already using AI and not knowing it. Yeah,
and that's actually a really good point, because I think a lot of people don't even, like, I would never use AI. Well, you actually already are in a lot of instances. You don't even realize it yet. It's just now, ChatGPT has become this thing that people equate to AI. And that's just ChatGPT is one of 1,000 different platforms that you can use. I mean, before ChatGPT came out, there was Copy AI, which was basically an artificial intelligence website that would create copy for you, would create product designs for you. You had to pay for it, but it's been there. It's just, I think, because ChatGPT went from 0 to like millions of users within the first day, I think it was November it was released. It's kind of taken mainstream by storm. So, but that's just the tip of the iceberg of AI. So there's so much more out there that if people want to dig, you can find AI to literally do everything.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, good. Well, I'm glad we kind of sat down, shared with our audience a little bit more about it. It is new and exciting.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll bring updates as we can.
Yes.
And Rocca will be part of our Back to Business 2023 that we'll be having at the Hilton Garden Inn in September 7th. So we'll be talking a little bit more about, I believe, employment and what's going on in our industry and in our region. So thanks for being a part of that.
It's my pleasure.
As a special treat today, we are going to have my intern, Skylar Sabansky, interview Gabe DeLewis, and I hope I said his last name right.
Dioulis.
Dioulis. I'll let him say it when he comes on. Sorry, Gabe. We're going to have Skylar interview Gabe today and find out a little bit about what these Gen X, Z, Y, millennial are talking about and what's coming into the workforce this year. Thank you so much, and we'll be right back.
Hi, welcome back to the Southwestern PA Business Podcast. I'm Skylar Sabansky, the intern for Mandy Pryor, and we are here today with Gabe D.
Hello, thank you for having me.
No problem. This is very last minute, so hang in there with us. So Gabe, tell us a little bit about you.
I'm a rising senior at Westminster College. I'm a finance major, but I plan to go to law school, hopefully at Duquesne after, so studying up for the LSATs and getting ready for that. And I'm a legal intern at the Cozza Law Group.
And how's that so far?
It's been a great experience. I've had a lot of fun. Got to learn a lot of useful skills that I'll probably definitely need going into law school, like legal research, proofreading documents and whatnot, but also got to dabble in some marketing and some other stuff for them. So it's been a really cool experience.
And what made you want to go soon to law school? Is it your dad? What?
I would say dad, mom, stepdad. I come from a family of lawyers, so it's kind of in the bloodline, and I like to argue and I like to win. So to me, that was always like, well, let's go be a lawyer. I can do that. And I just figure I'll follow the family tree a little bit. So yeah.
Did you do anything in high school? I know when I was in high school trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I did some shadowing. So did you go shadow your dad for a couple days?
No, honestly, I did. Really wasn't set on going to law school until about last year. It was like I went in to be a finance major. I did in high school. I took a bunch of computer classes, did nothing for it, and then I kind of set my mind on it. He gave me the opportunity to intern, and now I'm loving it. So.
Yeah. And at school, are you involved in any clubs, any activities that you do?
Yeah, I'm the president of my fraternity, Phi Kappa Tau, so that's a great time.
Yeah.
33 guys that I've got to manage and run, so it's a stressful but very fun thing to do.
Leadership, which we just had a pop-up lunch yesterday, and we talked about leadership, especially in our generation. It's looked down on us because we're so young compared to like your dad and Mandy. They have years of experience under their belt, but give us a chance. There's our generation, there are people out there that we have drive, we have motivation. We want to be that change for our generation.
Yeah, and I think doing something like being the president or leading an organization is something very useful for us to have at a young age because it really gives us a foot in the door to going into starting our own business, being an organization, being a higher up, and I think it's a very beneficial thing for my life in the future.
Yeah, and you said at Westminster, where you attend college, is there or are you going to join any clubs for what you want to do in your future?
No, there was a pre-law club that I didn't know about until this year. So at this point, I'm a year out. I'm just going to finish out and get out of there.
Yeah, and I agree. I was a practicum for the IUP TV news station, but it is very hard balancing school and I don't know if you work, clubs, friendships, seeing family, coming home all the time. But I feel like with doing this internship, more hands-on, out-of-classroom experience, and having adult supervision is way better than clubs. That's just my opinion.
No, definitely, and it really gives you that real-life work experience, like being in a corporate setting, being in a business setting. You got to be formal, got to know how to speak to people, shake hands, and then also get your work done. I can't procrastinate like at school. I got to get on top of it at all times. So.
Yes, and you mentioned getting out there in the real world and speaking to people. It's definitely different than standing in front of your classmates, talking about any topic you have to. I know I took a public speaking class, and it was very different speaking in front of them compared to the older generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, last minute. We really enjoyed having you.
Appreciate it.